Yes, sir.
All right. Bill, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody to the January 30th Board of County Commissioners. On my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2, and on my left is Commissioner Aaron Mays, who represents District 3. I'm Bill Rippon, and I represent District 1. And what's first?
First item under proclamations presentation by Sheriff Hill on 2019 incentives, or initiatives, I'm sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sheriff Brian Hill. I want to just briefly introduce what we're going to do here. And this is an overview of the proactive police initiatives that we've rolled out this last year. You know, when I came into office here, I was major case here for years and am very well aware of the crime trends in this community. You know, one of the disturbing things that I've seen, if you will just Google Topeka crime stats, it'll tell you Topeka, Kansas is one of the highest crime-rated cities in America, big or small, and you have about a 1 in 17 chance of being a victim of a property crime or a violent crime in this community. We went to work, did a little bit of restructuring, reallocated some manpower and put places, people in places to do proactive policing activity. It took a couple months to get up and running. Over the last 6 months, as you're going to see by the slide presentation here, our warrants execution is up almost 40% over 6 months period from previously. Our narcotics task force is turning out to be a big success, and we're just now getting up and running intelligence-wise between all the different agencies. I know you've seen some of the big busts that's been in the news as of late. I really want to thank the men and women that work for the Sheriff's Office, because those folks got on board. They're putting in the hours and the work, and our partnership with the chiefs and the outer line counties has honestly helped us identify, and we've stopped a few crime trends. So if you have any questions at the end of this, feel free to ask, and we will hand out this presentation to you guys as well. Under Sheriff.
Thanks, Sheriff. Good morning, Commissioners. Under Sheriff Jason Mecca. I'm going to run through the slideshow with you this morning. Some of the highlights: the initiatives and operations have been conducted in 2019 and continue in 2020. And what I'll do is give a wave top, a brief overview of each one of these as we go through it. At any time, Commissioners, if you have a question, just stop me. And like I said, I'm going to try to get through this fairly rapidly so you can get on with today's agenda. So the Drug Enforcement Task Force, first time ever in Shawnee County, has a sheriff brought together the other agencies within our county. This was a noticeable difference in the way we do business, mainly because we have a lot of policing agencies here, and everybody doing kind of the same thing, but not on the same page, so to speak. So this task force has brought those together, and you can see by that picture right there, when they signed this agreement, this MOU, it brought together all these entities, and the common goal is public safety. It is. It's fighting drug-related crimes in our area. And a highlight of this is our narcotic arrests and gun seizures have tripled since we formed this task force, which is significant to our efforts. Interdiction task force. With this, we have been doing interdiction for many, many years in Shawnee County. As you know, part of our planning, our strategic planning when it comes to equipment and training, and those items identified you could use asset forfeiture funds for. These are the gentlemen, the efforts that feed into that. And as you can see by those stats, They are very proactive, active in this county, fighting crime. Rossville PD has joined us in this task force to focus on drug interdiction. U.S. Marshal Fugitive Task Force, we got some stats up there, I'll let you read those. Once again, that we, for a time, went away from having a deputy assigned to that U.S. Marshal Task Force. And what they do is they arrest people. They just put bad guys in jail. These guys, it is a group that is formed. TPD is in this group, state parole, obviously the U.S. Marshals, the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. And every day, they go out and they look for these individuals and arrest them. So we are proud to be part of this program once again. And as you can see, just by the numbers alone, how much they do. Operation Safe Zone, this was basically a warrants roundup initiative. And when we discuss these things, we want to focus not only at the task at hand, which is arresting people that have fugitive warrants, but also the bigger picture. What else is going on? So what we did was we isolated areas around schools, okay, and we made that our focus. Whether it's Washburn University, some of our public schools, we tried to gather the data, and then we utilized our resources, and that's what we did those 2 days. As you can see, it was pretty lucrative, something that we're going to continue to do. And it was a great way for us to start this partnership again and making the community safer. So you've heard a lot about drones. Obviously, you know that the military uses these quite extensively. It has gone into the private sector. Farmers, ranchers, they use drones. The private sector, whether it's a hobby or somebody uses it as their business, we found a need, and the needs are more than what you think. Okay, as we've seen the last couple years, a trend in Shawnee County that's disturbing are burglaries and thefts. We want to be able to use technology to assist our officers on the street with identifying some of these high crime areas, using them in public access ways to help us have an eye in the sky, so to speak, with that. We have certified 8 drone pilots for our agency. We have 5 drones, and we have to date 49 operational deployments.
Under Sheriff, if I could
Yes.
just ask, with the drones, in the past, we had a lot of helicopter service as our air support. Would you see this as being a trend, that we would have less helicopter support and more drone support when we're trying to identify a suspect that's maybe on the run, since it has the infrared sensors, or
Yeah.
a pursuit or a chase of things of that nature?
Yeah, that's a good question, Commissioner. Actually, the rapid deployment capability is the thing that we find most useful. When we have to call KHP to get the helicopter, because that's who we use, the Highway Patrol has a helicopter, the turnaround time, if they're there at the hangar or even up in the air, it's minutes, but if they're not, it could take up to an hour. So having these aircraft basically in the trunk of your vehicle or back seat, and you're able to rapidly deploy them, that's where things that are time sensitive, that's where we get the advantage to that. And primarily mapping crime scenes right now, maybe searching for things or persons are what we use them for primarily. But it's really the time sensitivity of why drones are going to be important to us versus the helicopter.
Okay.
So,
But you would see that as a trend in the future, going to having more drones or more drone support as your air support?
quite possibly, yes. As technology evolves, so should we. So, good question.
We
Yes,
have drones that will, that have infrared
Yes,
capability?
yes, they have FLIR capability.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next thing, the next initiative was Sheriff Hill met with Sheriff Tim Morris of Jackson County and identified a need, and that is to communicate and collaborate more with an adjacent county. They have the same safety challenges that we have, that we share the county line with them. There is a lot of cross talk, I guess, now with our deputies and their deputies. But in order to enhance crime investigations, if you will, in making arrests, what we did was partner with them in deputizing our detectives and our narcotics officers to be able to work across jurisdictional boundaries without really any restrictions. Okay, this is so far been a really good partnership for us. And kind of the theme throughout the last 6 months was building partnership capacity, whether that's with Jackson County or internally within the county, but certainly outside agencies. It's a force multiplier is what it is for us. And as you can see, there's smiles on those faces because we are working together. So. Proximity dispatch, the sheriff and Chief Cochran got together on this deal with the help of Director Burgers, who is our Director of Communications. We got what's called proximity dispatch. And basically what that is in a nutshell is if there's an officer close to an injury, accident, an armed robbery, a crime in progress, that person is going to be dispatched, that unit, those officers. And that way we can reduce response time. And the bottom line, again, is community safety. So this program has worked out fairly well so far, I think, right, Mel? You know, everybody that works either for the county or the city's taking ownership, and it's really paying dividends for us as far as response time. Sherwood Outpost. So for a long time, we have had reserve deputies patrol the Sherwood area. That program has now changed into an intermittent deputy program. And basically what that means is these are part-time certified officers who have been previously certified, very experienced folks, and they're going to provide a service to the Sherwood Improvement District based on the number of hours that are allocated. Of course, they're funding this, so we are able to pay the deputies through this funding. And what we did was we leased this small building. It's out there near 33rd and Urish, right next to Webco Storage, and we're going to utilize that as a substation. So within the next couple weeks, we're going to have a grand opening of that, and our deputies will be able to utilize that facility to meet with folks, take walk-in reports, just use that as an office in a place to conduct law enforcement business there out at Sherwood. 2 new canines. Our canine program had taken a couple hits the last few years without actually replenishing those animals. It is a budgetary thing. This program is not cheap. One dog is about $9,000, sometimes even upwards to $10,000, and it takes months and months to train them. Our officers go through a very robust training program. Sergeant Brad Metz is the gentleman on the left. He's been our in-house trainer for a number of years, and we partner with KHP in conducting this canine training. These 2 canines were donated, funded from an outside donor, and have passed certification, and so we are up to 6 now, able to perform this function. So we're very proud of them, and it is just an invaluable tool that we rely on every day for the detection of narcotics, patrol functions, tracking folks, just a myriad of things. So we're very proud of this program and increasing the numbers therein. Kansas Search and Rescue. Here's an entity that we had to touch base with. They've always been there, but now we have brought them in, and we are going to utilize their services and collaborate more should we need to. It's just another way to get out there and reconnect with resources that once maybe we lost connection with. So be a good program for us to stay involved in. The criminal intelligence analyst, when the sheriff came aboard, he did an assessment, noticed that We have a detective that does some of the crime analysis for us and disseminates crime bulletins. But what that does is that takes away from his ability to work cases. So in order to get that detective back in the fold, taking cases, working, investigating crimes, this position will enhance our capabilities to cross those jurisdictions and even next door, TPD. What they do, we should share that information. And this person will allow us to do that. We have purchased new crime software that data mining will be done by this individual. And we are going to be more effective in crime analysis, analyzing trends, and putting operations in place to combat in Shawnee County. And this, I think, is our last slide. Our TAC medicine, we now have a doctor, a medical director that provides oversight to this program. We have 3 certified deputies. One of our deputies came to us from AMR, and they are the highest level of paramedic certification that you can attain and actually distribute meds in the field. Those life-saving measures now for us, whether it's our officers going in on a search warrant or conducting, tactical operations, we have life-saving measures now that we'd never had before. So this has truly enhanced our capability to survive if something were to occur. So, lastly, I think that's the last one. If you have any questions, I'll take those. But I do need to thank. This wasn't just the sheriff and I coming up with these grand ideas and implementing them. It's our staff, our officers, the dispatchers. Everyone at the sheriff's office have made these initiatives and these operations work. Also, within the county, we try to fill up Brian Cole's jail all the time. I know he loves us for that. Kirk Niehaus and the Public Works guys, we're working with them, making sure the roads are safe. Parks and Rec, we just have to share information. Things happen out there. And if we are talking to each other, we can get a lot of things accomplished. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman. Under Sheriff, thank you for the presentation.
Well,
one question I have had, as we have the country has moved to more technology-based society, we see more technology in our drones. When Sheriff Hill probably started his service, the only time he saw a camera was maybe in the interview room, and then we had cameras on cars. Now we have cameras on every officer, and we've gone from VHS tapes to now data storage.
Yes.
Are we seeing a need for increased data storage so that we can maintain all of those videos and body cameras? And is that what you see maybe as a law enforcement trend, more technology-driven
Yes.
Expenses?
Absolutely, 100%. You touched on everything that we have seen when we plan, data storage is expensive. It really is. But one of the things we've tried to do with our technology is we've tried to compartmentalize, and we use Axon. So we went with the body-worn cams. It was kind of the first thing that we did technology-wise. And then we implemented the Axon camera in our vehicles. Now, we're going to, our interview rooms are going to be Axon cameras as well. So we're kind of streamlining that using the same technology. But at the end of the day, you're going to pay for storage. And that's going to increase, and that's something that's not going to go away. The days of having endless files and file cabinets and all that stuff, now we have to keep up with technology, and it does cost us money. Shane, would you have anything to add as far as that?
Major Hoogler with the Sheriff's Office. The trend that I see is that cloud storage has really taken over the expense, the cost that law enforcement agencies are seeing, because you have to have that. We just had training this week on retention periods for that new data and what the state and federal requirements of those are going to be. So I see that being one of the biggest challenges we have as law enforcement moving forward, is how we're going to afford to pay for the data storage that we have to have now. And it's what the community expects, and I think we're more than happy to provide that. It's just, where do we get the money to pay for that data storage?
And I think it's really critical that we have that data storage. We see those Axon cameras being used to clear officers, to protect the public. I mean, it's really an asset to the entire system, the law enforcement community, the justice system, as to what occurred, what they did, what was said. And it's almost essential now as part of our daily, justice system. And so being able to maintain it in storage, that's a cost that we have to look at.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars, so absolutely, I think that's the challenge. We'll just have to continue to look at ways to solve that problem as we move forward.
Thank you.
I suppose this data has to be very secure too. It is evidence for court cases, et cetera, so.
Yes, all of it has to meet criminal justice information system standards. And we do all the vetting of that. Most of the vendors out there go through the process, but we have to make sure that they have gone through all the checks and that their storage is as secure as it can possibly be. Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Go ahead.
I have a couple questions. Thank you for your presentation, by the way.
Absolutely.
On the criminal intelligence analyst, you had on there's a partnership with the TPD. Is that just an information sharing arrangement, or is it a kind of a shared position that goes back and forth, or?
Yeah, it's a good question, Commissioner. This is a position that is solely at the sheriff's office. The TPD has their crime analyst section as well, but now we're going to be able to do that cross-dock because we have somebody that can be dedicated to going to meetings, collaborating, sharing information. It's just going to be on a more intimate level, with somebody dedicated to do that with them.
Okay.
So, but it is our
So
position.
they have a similar position that they're
Yes, they do.
working together
In fact,
with.
I think they
Okay.
have more than one.
Okay,
So,
okay, great.
Yeah.
And the other question I had is, could you just speak a little bit to your staffing levels right now and where you guys are in
Sure.
terms of being fully staffed?
Absolutely. The 2020 budget has allowed us to fund 115 officers. The sheriff has recently offered employment to a person who is going to start in March. So that's going to take us to 114, and so we'll have room for one more this year. Towards the end of the year, depending on how the budget plays out and where we're at, if we have any retirements or anyone leaves, certainly we can try to fill positions as we go. We want to stay as high as we can with the money we have,
Right.
obviously. So that's our goal. Our goal is to be there. If we have enough money for 115, we want 115 officers, Commissioner.
Absolutely.
We want people operational. We want them in positions. We want to backfill those areas that we used to rob from, or that's a bad choice of words. We used to reallocate folks within the agency. And so we want these units we want to build these units back up. Now, dispatch, if you want an accurate rundown, I'd have to ask Director Burgers to come up to give you numbers, because I think you need to know that as well. Where are we at with dispatch? But we're at 113, we'll be at 114 sworn in March, and we have room for 115.
That's
So
great.
I'll let
Thank you,
Mel
guys.
cover dispatch. Thanks. Put you on the spot.
Just real quick, Commissioners, we have approximately 23 people hired. That's for communication specialist ones and 2 call takers. We have 1 vacant call taker position. We are allocated for 3. That position is helping backfill the CS1 positions. We look to hire at least 5 this year, and with potential retirements coming up in our division as well. We have 5 people that are able to retire, so we've been in communication with them to get some dates to ensure we're ahead of the game on that.
Thank you for your presentation, Sheriff Hill, Under Sheriff Smacken. Thank you very much. I think it's encouraging to see that we're moving in a positive direction. I especially like our collaboration with the other law enforcement agencies,
Yeah.
Jefferson County, and working with some of the other smaller communities like Rossville. That's excellent. And
Absolutely.
we're seeing results too.
Yes, we are.
And so,
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Next.
Item 3, consent agenda.
I'll move for approval as presented.
I will second that. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item 4, new business, A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers that total $1,520,497.07. The highest number out of our voucher are capers contributions of $358,385.74. The detention center had expenses of $337,463.36, the majority of which is made up by Corizon. The Kansas 911 is under 911 telephone, and that was $247,025.88 for the Next Gen 911 system annual payment. Under the general expenses, American Pre-Sort, we had $120,000. That's for mailing out our postage. Holding accounts with the state of Kansas was $256,338.15. We had also an allocation to the East Topeka Senior Center of $22,250. And then finally, Thomas McGee, our work comp provider, for $11,413.30. I don't have any questions and would move for approval.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move that we approve the correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A3, consider approval of renewal of a tax exemption incentive for economic development for year 9 for Big Heart Pet Brands. And this is one of 3 that we have with Big Heart. And they're all on the agenda today. This is the oldest one, and it has, we have 9 years left on this, or this is the 9th year. And the Counselor's Office has reviewed it, and I recommend approval.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A4, consider approval of renewal of a tax exemption incentive for economic development for year 6 for Big Heart Pet Brands. And again, Counselor's Office has reviewed. This is the 6th year for this other one, and they've had done everything correct, paid their fee, and I recommend approval.
I would move that we approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A5, consider approval of renewal of tax exemption incentive for economic development for year 4 for Big Heart Pet Brands. And this is the final one. I think this is the final one entirely. This is our last one for the whole year. And this is year 4. One point, Commissioner Cook had made, Molly Howie was here the last, or was it Monday or last week anyway, and I did have communication with them, and I've notified them of any of the exemptions that we have that are in year 8, 9, or 10, and so we sent them that, and the reports that I'd sent to the commissioners, just for some information for your purposes as well, so.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay, so, and this one is, I said, this last one, then this is year 4 for Big Heart, and I recommend approval from the Counselor's Office. Reviewed it, so
I'll move that we approve.
thank you.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor? Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item B, corrections, number 1, consider approval of request to purchase 50 handheld radios approved through the capital outlay request procedure with Motorola Solutions, Inc. at a cost of $109,590.58, and with the remaining budgetary bid balance, request approval to add additional program to the existing APX 1000 radios at a cost of $1,800, and to purchase 10 additional chargers and 20 additional microphones at a cost of $2,128.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Eve Kendall from the Department of Corrections. After she read all that, I don't know I have that much to say.
I would just-
Originally, in August, you had approved for us to be considered for capital outlay funding for these radios. It sounds like a lot of money, but each radio is a little over $1,000 a piece, and that doesn't even count the programming and everything that goes involved. So It's kind of a costly item, technology item that we have to do good business. Our original bid was $113,000 and some money. The actual bid this year was below that, so we're asking that we can buy some replacement parts that we typically need through the life of the radio, microphones and chargers, that kind of thing. And then also the programming for the radios that we currently have, so all the radios are the same. And we're able to do everything that all together instead of some radios being able to do some things and not others. It can be quite a nightmare depending on what the situation is. So with all that in mind, we are still under the original budgetary bid, and I'll be standing here for questions that you might have.
I don't have any questions.
Do these radios now meet all the federal, the new
They do, sir.
guidelines?
Our current radios that, well, not all of our current, but our old radios that we're using, they're being not supported after this year. Motorola's saying, you know, we have bigger and better, and we're not going to waste our time with these old things anymore. So we've been trying to update our radios to the new and improved version, which is what these are. We have, even with this purchase of the 50, we will still have over 100 radios that we still need to purchase because we have so many that we use. We have over 272 employees that use radios. So these will meet all the standards and all the 911 and everything with the cross banding and so on and so forth, yes.
With the outsourcing of the radios as we replace them, in the past, we have reallocated those radios to emergency management for their use. Would we continue to do that?
Yes, if they want the radios, sir, we will be more than happy to provide them to them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll move for approval.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Eve.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item C, Information Technology, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C 22-2020 with SHI International on state contract for the purchase of 950 annual licenses for McAfee virus protection software at a total cost of $15,998 with funding from the 2020 budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Frank McGee, Information Technologies. This is a standard software that we put on every PC and laptop to protect against viruses.
I don't have any questions.
I'll move that we approve. Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Item C2, consider authorization and execution of contract C 23-2020, reference contract C 121-2019, renewal with Computer Information Concepts for the annual Peopleware agreement, which provides support for the hardware and software element that comprise the tax administration solution platform at a cost of $60,400 with funding from the IT 2020 budget.
Frank McGee again, Information Technologies. This is, like she said, supports both the hardware and the software. It's our property tax and real estate tax collection and distribution system. It's used by the treasurer and the appraiser and clerk's office and, of course, the audit finance too.
Any questions?
Move for approval.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item D, Solid Waste. Number 1, consider approval of request to enter into contract negotiations with Engineering Solutions and Design for the completion and publication of the 2020 Shawnee County Solid Waste Management Plan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. Back on November 18th, I came before the Commission asking to issue a request for quotations for the development of the 2020 Shawnee County Solid Waste Management Plan, which is a requirement from KDHE. 4 proposals were received by 4 different firms. Those proposals were looked at internally and then reviewed by the Solid Waste Management Committee and then finally by the Professional Services Committee. And a firm called Engineering Solutions and Design out of Olathe, Kansas had the best proposal that we've, all 3 looks agreed upon. So we would like to enter into contract negotiations with that firm. Again, this will be 100% user fee funded by the Solid Waste Department with no impact to the Shawnee County residents' taxes. Questions?
Questions?
No?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Ribbon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Next item.
Item E, Treasurer, number 1, consider approval of request to fill a motor vehicle Q&A specialist position at pay grade 13 with funding from the motor vehicle funds and to fill any subsequent positions that become vacant as a result of filling this position.
Good morning, Commissioners. Larry Walsh, Shawnee County Treasurer. This is a position that's in the motor vehicle department, funded by motor vehicle funds, and is a vacancy as a result of the recent retirement of the deputy treasurer motor vehicle. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
Any question?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Larry. Next item.
Item F, Facilities Maintenance, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C 24-2020, change order number 1 to contract C 204-2019 with Western Specialty Contractors in the amount of $16,540 for additional expenses beyond the original allowance in the contract for the courthouse exterior restoration, and also includes a $5,000 window washing credit.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Kroll, Facilities Maintenance Director. The exterior of the Shawnee County Courthouse was a focus for us in 2019, and we contracted with Western Specialty to seal, clean, repair brick, stucco, rocks, window caulking, get the stains off the building so that it doesn't end up looking like the docking building. And I want to say that I think they did a really, really good job for us. It's a difficult building to do because we have constant business. Stuart Miles, their foreman on the job, worked really, really well with us to make sure that the courts could stay in operation without unnecessary noise or anything like that. And I'd like to let Stuart, he needs a big hand for the community because that was hard work for them to do. So, and also with us is Jamie Gomez, the project manager for Western, and he's got a brief PowerPoint presentation to kind of show what we actually got accomplished in 2019. So before you consider the change order, I'll let Jamie come up and kind of show you what we've been doing.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jamie Gomnitz with Western Specialty Contractors. It's the project manager of the project. Where's the? Yeah, technical.
Kurt?
I just need to get into the slideshow.
Kirk does a lot of these.
Okay. Here.
There we are.
Okay. Thank you for your patience with the technical difficulties. Bill Kroll had asked me to give a brief overview, kind of what we addressed during the project. And here are some before photos really showing kind of the deterioration and the conditions that we encountered during the project. You can see kind of atmospheric and biological staining on the building. As we're up there coming across all the different stones that you have on the building, oftentimes we encountered mortar joints that were missing completely. So water can get back into through the stones and back into kind of the structural ties, and kind of what provides stability to the walls. So addressing and getting these taken care of were vitally important. You can see stains up on the building, which were prevalent all throughout the exterior of the building. And here's kind of a more of a highlighted example of the stains that we came across, joints that were missing that we had to address. When we were doing the restoration of the project, again, coming across all of the stains that were very prevalent around the building, you can see openings that were between the stones and other dissimilar materials, which we then addressed with the sealants. There were the stones through time, through kind of the thermal movements and freeze-thaw cycles of the current conditions that we have right now. Will incur kind of have spalls that will pop out of the stones and be safety hazards or liabilities. And so we took care of these, took care of the stains. And here's an example of during construction, the crew, and Stuart, I think, is right there actually, taking care of the cleaning and kind of the care of the building, just making sure that it's done properly with care. And the crew did a very good job of really accommodating the courthouse, or that's what I've been told, on trying to minimize the inconvenience of the construction process, because it's not conducive to court sessions and other operations that you're having throughout the building during regular hours. So oftentimes the guys would come in early in the morning, before operations, and get work done that normally they wouldn't plan on doing during those hours. So because of that, I really want to thank Stuart and the crew for what I believe was a very good job, and want to thank them for that. And then here are some after pictures. You can see how well the exterior really cleaned up. The stains are gone underneath the windows. The mortar joints were addressed and brought up to good standards that are going to be more water resistant for moving forward, which will really lengthen the longevity of the building and the maintenance of the building. So here are the pictures kind of the elevations after they've been restored, washed, and sealed. So those are the brief pictures I had for you. I had hundreds of them, but had to get them done like in about 12 pictures.
We'll all be happy to answer any questions you might have as we consider
Yeah,
this.
Bill, I might have a question for Stuart, since
Okay.
he was up on the lift and everything.
Stuart Miles.
Stuart Miles, Western Specialty Contractor.
Stuart, in working with a 55-year-old building, looking forward, are there things that you saw when you were doing the restoration and the cleaning that we might have bookmarked or highlighted for thoughts in the future as we continue to use the building?
There's areas that we didn't get to work on, like the penthouse on the roof and stuff like that, but we did a good job from what we did, and should be good to go for the future as far as where we worked. But
So overall, you saw the building to be in good shape and continuing to serve the residents of Shawnee County into the future?
I believe so.
Okay, that's what we needed to know. Thank you.
Jamie, thanks for your work on this project. We're waiting for a motion here, aren't we?
Yeah, we still have the change order to consider. And the reason the change order really came about is we had certain allowances built into the original part of the contract that said, you know, X number of linear feet of this type of joint and that type of joint, because we were really guessing on what we would find when we got up there. And this addresses those issues that we ran out of the original allowances in the contract, and we ended up with 160 extra hours of labor and some extra materials and lift time to finish the job and do it right. Once we started, we wanted to make sure that we could get it completed correctly. And the funding for this came from the 2015 deferred capital. So we're trying to get that spent up and a lot of this deferred maintenance, and this was a big item for deferred maintenance. So glad to get it done.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you much.
Bill. Next item.
Item G, Administrative Services. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-25-2020 Memorandum of Understanding with the City of Topeka to place 2 courthouse surveillance cameras on city property.
Good morning, Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. As part of the new courthouse surveillance system, it was determined that it would be advantageous to have 2 cameras on city property that are directed towards the courthouse. The city has prepared an MOU regarding these cameras. The cameras will be wireless and solar powered, so therefore there'll be no connection to the city power or to their networks at all. The agreement states that the county will be responsible for the purchase, the repairs, and the maintenance of the cameras. The cameras will be Shawnee County property. It also states that the county will be responsible for any damage to county property that could, result from us placing these cameras on their property. The county counselor's office has reviewed this agreement. If the commission approves this, then it will go over to the city for the city manager's signature. And Shane Plevance, who is the project manager, is also here if you have any questions for him.
Any questions?
Betty, is there any kind of reciprocity in this where they could place cameras on our property as well? Or-
Not in this agreement. Verbally, we have talked to them about that we would be willing to look into that if they should. They have not asked for that yet, and it is not in this agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Okay. I'll move that we approve.
Second?
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Okay, at this time, we'll allow the public or department heads to come forward. We have one now.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. Just want to remind the general public that this Saturday is the 1st of February, so it'd be our first collection event at Household Hazardous Waste for the year 2020. Residents are encouraged to dispose their hazardous household waste in a fashion such as this, and it is open from 12 until noon. Address is 131 Northeast 46th Street, again, from 9 until noon. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, 12 to noon, that's a short time.
I got that.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Oaks from the Health Department.
Dusty Nichols, Emergency Management.
So we're here today to talk a few minutes about the new novel coronavirus that is in the news a lot. So just to let you know that the Shawnee County Health Department, along with Shawnee County Emergency Management, has started an incident action plan around this. This action plan will be around education and information at this point. So we've created some educational materials and sent out to the schools, to the first responders, to law enforcement, just about what to do to prevent from becoming sick. And I just want to say it's the same thing that you do for any other respiratory illness. You wash your hands, you stay home if you're sick. We did give some guidance about mask usage and that sort of thing for first responders, but it's normally just whatever they would normally do when they encounter someone who's sick with respiratory symptoms, that they would do those same precautions. If they encounter someone who is running a fever, has respiratory symptoms, and has had travel to China, then they need to notify the emergency room they're transporting that person. If people have that history, they need to call their providers before they go in to be seen. So far in the United States, we still only have 5 confirmed cases. Worldwide, China now has 7,700 cases as of this morning, and almost all the cases in the rest of the world are folks who have gotten it from travel. They were in China, they went home, and they became ill. So we're still not seeing a whole lot of transmission yet, and we don't know what the future will hold, but right now, I can tell you the biggest danger is the flu. So this year in the United States, we've had 8,200 people die from the flu. So that is the danger we have here in the U.S., and so I encourage everyone to get their flu shot. If they're sick, stay home. That's the best thing you can do for your coworkers, for your friends. And regulations from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment require that if you are diagnosed with the flu, that you stay home for 5 days from the day you became symptomatic, or 24 hours fever-free with no medication reducing your fever. So whichever is longer. So you need to stay home at least 5 days to help mitigate the spread of flu. So, Dusty, you want to add anything to that?
I just want to just add briefly, it's kind of what the undersheriff was talking about earlier, doing the information share, not just between our two departments, but all departments and responders and the public and everything else is what we're really focused on. They are definitely, the health department's definitely specific with the health side of this. Emergency management comes into play when we're trying to gauge the threat and all that, and she's absolutely right. The coronavirus is very, very low threat here. Under certain circumstances, you might have to call your doctor for that, but the regular flu is really the bigger threat. The mitigation factors are still the same thing. Wash your hands, stay home from work, all those things still apply. So, yeah, we're just trying to document it and make sure we're collectively responding to this so we don't have a knee-jerk reaction and start spending money and buying things that we definitely don't need in the response world. So, proud to be part of the response.
I want to thank Dusty and Emergency Management. They are great partners helping us through all the requirements that we need to do. I will add also that if we do end up with someone who is a possible case, and we would be doing our regular job, which is disease investigation, contact investigation, we do that every day. So we'll be doing those same things. It could be just more hands on deck, and we would be working cooperatively with the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. And at this point, the CDC would be here, as they are in Lawrence right now.
Was that person in Lawrence where they found to have this
The test isn't back yet. It takes 24 to 48 hours for that test, and my understanding is that the CDC is going to be getting testing kits to the states within the next week or two, so that will speed up.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Dusty, thank you very much. Anyone else? Wow. There is a need for executive session, so I'm gonna make a motion to go into executive session for a period not to exceed 10
Did you want-
minutes.
Commissioner, did you
What's
want to
this?
see if they had anything they want to talk about?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I am
They
sorry.
might not have anything to talk about. You never know. They might.
Commissioner Cook, do you have anything to?
Oh, I was just going to thank Bill Kroll for reacting very quickly. We had an issue in the sub-basement yesterday with emergency management, and thank you to emergency management for quickly shifting and getting people. We had meeting rooms that were being used and quickly shifting them from the basement to the commission chambers, and just thank you for Bill and Dusty for reacting quickly and expeditiously and getting that addressed. And also thank you just to Western Specialties I know it was a long project, longer than it was anticipated, and a lot of hard work, and so thank you for keeping the 55-year-old building clean, and hopefully we get another 55 years out of it, or so. So, thank you.
Commissioner Mays.
I just a happy belated birthday to the great state of Kansas.
Yeah.
Yes. That was the 29th. Was that yesterday?
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Back to the executive. Where was I? I want to make a motion to go into executive session for a period not to exceed 10 minutes to discuss one item. That is to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel, specifically to discuss reclassification of positions. No action is expected at this time.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Motion carries 3-0. We are now in executive session. We are now back in session. No actions taken at this time, so adjourn the meeting.
Just for the chair.
It was just the chair, you have all Cs this time. Yeah, just the contracts this time.
Okay, great.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.
It's gonna be a beautiful team, just like